I think you're probably best to introduce yourself.
Yeah.
You know more about what you do than I know about what you do. I'm really happy to have Ian here today because you're running this session for us and also one later when we get nice and hands-on with our LVAs and that type of thing. But right, I'm going to leave you guys to it.
No worries, no worries. Right, morning everybody. Morning. So, my name's Ian Hughes. I work for a company called Associated Optical, which some of you may be aware of, some of you may not. And unfortunately, you've got me for a couple of sessions today, so you're going to have to listen to me for quite a bit. But I will try and make it a little bit more interactive, so you haven't got to listen to me all day. And the first session that we're going to do is not CET accredited, unfortunately. I wish it was, but it's not. And it's called Making Sense of Magnification. Okay, so this afternoon we're going to have, like Alex said, it's going to be a lot more hands-on. But today or this morning is about kind of getting it into practice and developing what you've got and kind of finding out why you should get involved. So, start off, as I mentioned, I work for Associated Optical, and we are the UK partner for Eschenbach. So Associated Optical are 36 years old this year, later on in October. And throughout that time, we have been the partner for Eschenbach. So when we first started out, we was very much box shifters. So you'd want a product, we'd send it out to you. But more recently, what we've found is that we've been going into practice, and there's been a little bit of a knowledge gap at times, or a confidence gap, because you'd have learnt it at college and then not done too much with it in practice. So we set about doing in-practice workshops and CET days with Jay McNaughton. And then more recently, we've given you the practical knowledge of the magnifiers, but we also have to kind of shout out to the business owners and kind of make it worthwhile for the business as well. Hence why I'm here today. So regarding Eschenbach, Eschenbach is a German company. We're based in Nuremberg, in the Bavaria district. And as you can see, we're over 100 years old. So I'd like to think they know what they're doing. And Associated Optical are one of 80 distributors, 80 countries in the world, and we're one of only 2 that are privately owned. So not only do we do Eschenbach, as you can see, we also represent a company called Live Eyewear, who make cocoons, which you may already have in practice through sunglasses. We have the low vision products, and then also a company called Occitec, which are spectacle mounted telescopes. We'll have a play with those this afternoon, but just to leave it with you, if I was to tell you, if you had a patient at 660, I could give them a telescope and enable them to drive, which is pretty scary. But it's never going to happen in the UK, so don't worry. So it's never going to happen right here. So they can move to America and they'll be fine, no issue. What I also, regarding Eschenbach, just to kind of see how kind of a rounded view of them, is that Eschenbach have 3 arms to their business. So the vision technology products, which we'll see later. They have an industry optics side of the business. So they make photonics and they make LEDs. So they sell LEDs into Bosch, who then can sell them on to Audi, Range Rover, BMW, and that kind of thing. But they also own International Eyewear, so they have a frame side of the business. So there's more than one arm, and they all interconnect. And later on this afternoon, when we have a play with some of the magnifiers and the vision technology products, you'll see how and why they interconnect. Okay, so why am I here? Why are we talking more about low vision? Why has today been set up, first and foremost? And it's because we're in a time which is unprecedented. We've got more over 60s than ever before. As you can see here, if we're talking about growth, over 70% of the UK population between 5 years ago and in 20 years' time is going to increase by nearly 6 million. And they're going to be people that are coming into your practice on a day-to-day basis. Now, there's a couple of trends that are fueling this. So the first one is low fertility rates. If we think about kind of our family members maybe, so my dad is one of 6, I'm one of 3, but then if I look at my siblings, my sister's got 2, my brother's got 1, and I'm on a big fat 0. So is one of those that there's not as many younger people coming through. So naturally, we're going to have a higher growth rate at the top end. Also, we've got low mortality rates. So people aren't dying as much. We're keeping people alive longer. The NHS, people may slag it off and say what they want about it, but actually, we're keeping people alive longer, which is fantastic. But we do find, which we'll have a chat about later, is that they then seem to develop more compound impairments. But first and foremost, keeping them alive is the important part. Okay. So not only is the UK changing, you could probably tell me your diary and your database, and you can tell me how many centenarians you've got. So would you say you've got a few centenarians in practice? Yeah? Do you kind of have the practices where you get really happy if you get somebody that's under 50 come in? Yeah? I get that quite a lot. I was like, it's a busy day today. Do you know what? We've got 2 kids in later. I was like, okay, I don't know if you should kind of get that excited. It's like, but yeah, I go to many, many places, and it's like, oh, everybody's over 60 or everybody's over 70, depending where you are. But what we're also finding is we're going to, not only do we have the older age range, we're going to be having those that are still working as well. So we're not going to discuss pensions and things like that and kind of the pension age and things, but you will find that a lot more people will develop sight loss and still be of working age. So again, linking into this afternoon, when we have a look at some of the products, we're going to step away from the kind of lens forms and more a case of what each product can do. So how it can enable somebody to still be working, and what products can aid them in that. Okay, so like I said, today's going to be, or this morning's going to be, a kind of how to make business sense of it. I've got a couple of practice owners in here, haven't I? Is that right? Yeah? So anything you need to chat about separately, if there's any kind of costings and things like that you need, give me a shout. That's absolutely fine. If you want to discuss it in front of everybody, that's not a problem. That's why there's no CET, because we can't, if anybody wants to talk about money and stuff like that, we have to kind of keep it generic. So I don't want to get too much into that. So making sense of it. So not only do we have that kind of duty of care to help people, but they also has to be financially viable as well. So we can't kind of be giving our services away necessarily for nothing. And integrating magnification into practice, not necessarily setting it separately. So one of the things that we'll have a look at later is that low vision is kind of almost a dirty word at times. We don't do low vision. We want to kind of separate low vision. And so what we talk about is how you can integrate it as part of your day-to-day. If you want to set up a low vision clinic, not a problem. We can help you. But it's more a case of helping your patients on a day-to-day basis as well. Okay. Why? Why should you bother? Why should you get involved with magnification? Any ideas why? Why do you think you should? We said about the fact that you can help your patients, but is everything going rosy in practice? Is it kind of as busy as ever? Are you getting kind of pummeled by the practice down the road? There's lots of different reasons why you should get involved. So if we look at the first one, they're global purchasing agreements. So we saw in the news about potential companies buying other companies and making mega companies, and we've already got certain mega companies already. But what you'll end up finding is that some of the bigger multiples might be able to get in the kind of cheaper prices, and it just kind of leaves you maybe floundering because you're offering a different service. So you kind of have to look and go, do you know what? I can't compete in the 2 for $99. I need to do something differently. Consumers are far more price aware. So back in the day, you could probably rely on your customers to go and stick with you for 30, 40, 50 years. Now they're a little bit more savvy. They will use the internet. We can't pretend that they won't. And some of that fickle, they'll go down the road for £5. So it's what you can offer as a service that will set you apart. And then the last one, there's a real need for the profession to own magnification. Because if you think about it, where else do you get a magnifier from? Any ideas? If you worked in practice and you needed a magnifier for whatever purpose, for your sight, for a visual impairment, or for a handicraft, where would you go? Any ideas?
Hobby shop.
Hobby shop? Amazon. Yeah. And what was this one over here, sorry? Amazon. So that's the thing. How do you try it? How many times do we find that we're buying things? And to be fair, my missus is so bad at this. She'll buy clothes, try them. Yeah, don't like that. Send it back. Because online, it looks amazing. And then you try it on and go, don't like the material, don't like this. It's the same with magnification. So I work with and I've trained up recently a very well-known charity and their call centre staff, because what they were finding is people were ordering products that they thought would be beneficial. We need a stronger magnifier. I'm going to go for that 10 times. And then they send it back and they're wondering why everything keeps coming back. That's a 7 times or a 10 times or a 12 times. And I'd look back at some of the results of why it's coming back. It's broken. Image is upside down. Seriously? Really? So it's like, okay. So I wanted it stronger, but I wanted it bigger. Unfortunately, that's not going to happen. So, yes, you can probably get it a little bit cheaper on Amazon, but actually, you know the patients, you know what they're suffering with, you can guide them properly. You can say, do you know what? Yes, you need a stronger magnifier, but it's going to be this size. That's it. It's kind of, you've got that rapport with them. You can kind of give them that kind of tough love if they need it. So, one of the other things you have to look at as well is making a reason for the patients to come to you. So like I say, people are a little bit more fickle now. They'll kind of walk down the road if they think they can get a deal and they've got a 2 for $99. So if your service is outstanding, they're going to stick with you, pure and simple. Have you got a USP? Have you got something that sets you apart? Is it your service? Is it the fact that you've got an OCT and they haven't? Is it the fact that you're an Oakley stockist and the ones down the road aren't? What is it that sets you apart? And the final one, make your practice a destination practice. I think if you are a high street practice now, I think it's fair to say there's probably not as much footfall coming through the town as it used to be. Many times, if I come back home and go back up north, or if I kind of go to different towns where I've been previously, I will look and go, where are the people? There's just nobody walking the streets, which links us on later to another part of the business, which is extremely important. So, regarding USP, like I say, what makes you different? What is the message that you want to portray? What is it that you want to shout out to your customers and go, look at me, don't go down the road, stop where you are, this is me. What is it that you can do? And even though you might think you're losing out to the patient the customer, the practice down the road with the 2 for $99, price is never the most important thing. Never. When we look at some of the products later, I have a product that's £1,400. If price was always the key, I'd never sell any. But it's all about what that patient needs and you matching that need. So whether that product's £20 or whether that product's £1,400, if you can provide a solution to their problem, it's secondary. And then finally, what drives and motivates your customer? So a lot of the times we kind of, and I was the same when I was in practice, we live in our bubble. We think we're the best practice in the world. Everybody's coming to us. If they're not coming to us, they've got something wrong with them. So it's kind of, which to be fair, might have. But it's understanding why you're maybe not as busy, why your diary isn't full, what is it that somebody else is doing down the road? Like, I'm not saying copy them, but understand what your competition is doing, so then you can go, actually, do you know what? They do that all right. If we changed it, and our customers actually need that, because our customers are all over 60, why the hell do we not sell lights? That's crazy. I'm sending everybody to Argos or IKEA. I could do this myself. And it's as simple as that. So I just wanted to bring up a few USPs that you may recognise. You may not, because some of them are a little bit out of date. But Domino's, the first one. You get fresh, hot pizza delivered to your door in 30 minutes or less. It's free. Fantastic. Yeah? Do you know why they don't do that anymore? Do you know why they stopped advertising, or that was stopped? They stopped using that slogan? Because there were so many car accidents. because people are rushing to get the food to the door in 30 minutes. But if you was in a town, new to town, or you're fancying some food, and you've got Pizza Hut, and you've got Papa's, and you've got Domino's, and you've got some other Chico's or something like that, how would you differentiate? How would you go, oh, which one do I fancy? Because they're all doing a very similar kind of thing. But you're like, do you know what? I'm pretty starving now. The football's going to kick off in 40 minutes. I need to be able to get it here, eat it before kick-off. Then that's obviously a great USP. You know what you're getting. M&Ms. So this was contentious last time because somebody tried to call me out on the M&Ms one. So the milk chocolate melts in your mouth, not in your hand. Have you ever tried that? I had some the other... Pardon?
Your hands get messy.
They don't. I had some the other night, and I was sat there and I was like, oh, this is pretty cool. It does work. But somebody tried to tell me, like, that's Maltesers. I'm like... So, do you know what Maltesers is? It's the lighter way to enjoy chocolate. So I don't know if you've tried kind of lying on your back and blowing it up with a straw, but that is... It's a little bit difficult. I wouldn't fancy that, to be honest. And then we have FedEx. But it absolutely, positively has to be there overnight. So you're getting two messages there. You're kind of getting that, the positive. When you have to have it, we can do it. We can do it overnight. They've changed that again recently. And it's not as kind of catchy. But you can see from that, you know it again. Yeah? You know why you're kind of setting yourselves apart. Okay. So, what makes you different? What makes your practices different? You can shout out. What do you do differently?
To do personalised service.
Personal service, okay. Any others? Come on, you're all sat there going, actually, we don't do anything. We're just like everyone else, to be honest. What is it? You can be kind of a little egotistical. Do you know what? We're fantastic because of me. I'm the best DO in this area. That's why they come back, because they come and see me. Come on.
People often say that they get very warm welcome from us.
Okay.
Friendly environment.
I think sometimes it's overlooked when you walk into a practice, the response you get. Now, I visit many practices, and I get some very different responses. No, I appreciate it. I'm coming in as a salesperson. So the wall comes up straight away. But there is absolutely, it doesn't cost a penny to be nice to the person in front of you. Pure and simple. But yeah, having that kind of warm response just makes everybody just feel at ease. It's just such a nice environment to be in. Anything else?
We did brands that nobody else
Okay.
in the area were doing, so of course we individualised ourselves by doing that.
Perfect. You've set yourself apart. You go, do you know what? I'm not going to be like them. I'm not going to be like them. If somebody wants da-da-da, I'm going to come to you. This is what, and you're setting yourselves apart. Absolutely spot on, yeah. Now, do you advertise that?
Not enough.
Okay, which we'll have a play at and have a come to later. So we've got brands that nobody else does, okay? And we've got warm service. Anything else?
Personnel, the person who, the optometrist who owns the practice, everybody wants to see her.
Yeah? So if you've got a name above the door, or if you've got kind of that person, that go-to person, sets you apart, which you can't replicate. You know, I mean, nobody can copy that. They can't go in unless they kind of steal them and kind of... but yeah, there's no way of recreating that. Any others? Anything else that sets you apart?
It's treating the patient as an individual rather than as a number, isn't it? That makes a lot of difference to a lot of people nowadays.
100%. I think coming onto the price thing and also coming onto that point as well, I think maybe a few years ago, and there was this model of when Primark first came into the market that it's nice and cheap. Do you know what? I need a plain white T-shirt. I'll go and buy one. It would cost me £3. And if I have to replace it in a few weeks, it only costs me £3. I'll go and buy another one. But I think more recently, there's been that shift where people are wanting to pay a little bit more and wanting a better service. They want to not just be kind of shepherded in, yeah, thanks very much, next, let's pick your glasses, thank you very much, see you later. And so now, I think people would go and spend £20, £25 on a plain white T-shirt, knowing that it's not going to kind of lose its colour after a few weeks. It's not going to kind of get holes in it. You're going to be able to kind of not have to keep spending and spending and spending. So yeah, exactly that. I think that's a great point. Okay, so getting on to specifics about magnification. Now, I know some of you do magnifiers already. The amount of times I've heard, we have a very good low vision service in this area. Yeah, would that be something that you've possibly said to people in the past? Or is that a reason you think to yourself, why I'm not doing magnification? Yeah? So on that, what would kind of, so if I came into practice and said, right, so I'm from Eschenbach, we've got these magnifiers. So what would your thinking be? I don't have to do it because we've got the hospital, or?
Literally 40 yards away from my practice.
Okay.
There is what's it called, Sighting Kettering or something.
Okay, so you've got...
Full LVA.
Perfect. And I'm glad you said that. Full LVA, okay? And it's Northamptonshire Association for the Blind, yeah? Now, list the last word there. Now, what we're looking at are the patients you see on a day-to-day basis, okay? So, when I said earlier, we need to separate the two. We need to separate magnification and low vision. If you've got a patient who's 58, not quite, kind of got early stage macula, just not seeing as well as they used to, they just need something to go to the supermarket with, something illuminated in the pocket. Would you send them to a blind society? Would they want to go to a blind society? No. So, firstly, great point, and it's legit. It's like, but would they want to go? Possibly not. Okay. Secondly, one of the things we have is that if we've got a great low vision service from the hospital. Now, I supply the majority of hospitals in the UK. So I can't knock them. However, firstly, we're looking at pre-referral. Secondly, find out how long your hospital takes. Now, if you've got a 8-week, a 10-week, a 12-week, a 16-week waiting list, if you said to your patient, I'm going to refer you, you've got macular degeneration, I can't do anything more in your specs, I know you really want to read the newspaper, or you want to kind of see your Christmas cards that are going to be coming through the door. However, I refer you on, they'll look after you, but it's going to be February. With the winter weather coming, that patient sat at home doing nothing. So what I would do there is then go, I want to give you an option. I'm going to refer you, if they're referable. But what I can do is, in the meantime, there's this magnifier. This is what you will get free from the hospital, but it's going to be January, February, whenever. However, you can purchase it. It's going to cost you £60 and you can have it today. What would you prefer to do? Would you give me the £60? Would you give me the £60?
I would.
Yeah. And now, I appreciate some people can't afford it and won't. I completely get that. However, it's about giving people the option. When I first started, it was almost kind of like, oh, shall I tell them there's a service there? Shall I not tell them there's a service there? Tell them there's a service there. Because if they find out afterwards that you've sold it them and they could have got it free and didn't give them the option, they're more likely to be annoyed with you. And you kind of lose that trust. But I think if you're straight up front, it's their decision. And it's that kind of same thing as when you come out with an NHS form, and my previous kind of staff members, they go straight and take them to the free section. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, they've got an NHS form. So let them choose what they want. You don't know their circumstances. Just because they've got a yellow GOS form today does not mean that they haven't got X amount in the bank, or a son who's going to pay for the glasses for them or whatever. It's the same thing. Give them the option. Don't kind of make that judgment for them. Too much chair time. Everyone's definitely audios. There's no OO crossovers, is there?
I'm not done.
Okay, I'll be careful then.
You've hit my reluctance there.
Perfect. Okay, so.
And that's not just as an optom, that's a
in general, yeah.
Well.
100%. I don't want you to sell it. I don't want you to go and do a whole dispense. I just want you to say, just talk about it. I just want you to say 1 or 2 lines. That's it. And then let you guys do it. Because no disrespect.
Yeah,
Pardon?
If it comes from us.
Exactly that. So, as we know, if you say it, it's like God speaking. So, I know, shh.
It's not like that at home.
But it's exactly that, yeah. So if you talk about it, then it enables everybody else to deliver it. And it can be just that 1 or 2 lines. And it could be the fact that you just have a magnifier in the room and just go, I know I can't get it any better in your specs. We're going to have to look at a magnification solution. So again, not talking about low vision. And then just simply something like that, just bring it out and go, how does that seem? Oh, that's fantastic. Right. So I'll just make a note and we'll chat to da-da-da-da. And we take it from there. One of the other things that I found out quite recently, I was doing a training course with Jay McNaughton in Cheshire last week. And it was actually a DO that said it to me. And I thought it was quite kind of poignant. And I thought, actually, I'll use that. And it's one of the reasons why OOs weren't great at talking about magnification was because they felt it was that they couldn't do their job, or it was a fault in their they're like, oh, if I give magnification, that means I'm failing in my job because I can't get them in specs. It's not going to happen. You can't do it for everybody. So it's not a failure, and it's kind of getting over that as well. But yeah, so delivered on the shop floor, you've got more time with the patients. You kind of know about lenses more, and it frees up the OOs to kind of do what they do. So, other things to sell. Now I completely get that in practice, when I came out of practice, we were just getting into eye drops and things like that. So I know you've now got eye drops, and you've got 63,000 different kind of contact lenses now, and you've got everything else that's kind of that's there, and you've got to make sure that you sell them an OCT, and you've got to. So I get there's lots, and it's just a case of relearning how to work in certain instances. And again, you don't have to remember it too much if the OO just talks about it, because it'll be on their notes, and then you can go, oh, actually, yeah. So it just gets you into that routine. Too expensive, as I mentioned earlier. It's about not deciding what that patient can afford. It's not going, 1,400 quid. Pfft, nobody's going to buy that. Now, £1,400 for me to buy a magnifier? No, because I don't need it. When I first started, I came from practice in a Midlands mining town, so I think it's on the top 20 places not to live in the UK. So you can kind of tell the place it is. And I first started out, and I had to sell into you guys a product at £399. I was like, how is a practitioner going to pay 400 quid for a product and then sell it for 600? It's not going to happen. And then the more and more I spoke to end users, the more and more I found that actually, do you know what? That's secondary. It really is. And I went into a practice once, just down the road from where I'm from, and I was asked to come in and speak to a patient who wanted to see a distance aid. So I was like, yeah, bring all the different toys. And we're having a chat. And I think this guy was from like 624. I think he was only around about N12-ish for reading, something random. It was a bit of a mix. And so we're trying different products. And he's like, Ian, my distance, I get by with. I don't need anything. I don't want to use the telescope. I'm like, okay. So we sat down. I said, I want to look at some magnifiers, something for close. So there was me, the patient, the Optom practice manager, or practice owner, sorry. And we're going through, and I pulled out my big grey case, and there was lots of optical magnifiers. He's like, no, don't want an optical magnifier. I'm like, okay. I know what I use. So then I got out the digital product. Now, I'd already been through the products with the practice owner beforehand, so he knew what we'd gone through and everything else. So I got this product out, put it on the desk. Optom, well, the kind of guy jumped up, stormed off. I was like, okay, that's a bit rude, but I have carried on with the patient and showed it. He's like, oh, how much is this then? 400 quid. I said, no, it's not, it's £500. And the guy plays with it. He's like, yeah, I'll take that, thanks. And the owner, kind of after he'd gone, he's like, do you know what? I thought that was the worst thing you did. I says, why? He's like, because that guy comes in here, don't spend anything. You know what I mean? He's not got a pot and anything else. He's kind of, and I was like, okay, fair enough. And then you got that. I said he didn't want to see a magnifier. I says, well, firstly, the digital product doesn't look like a magnifier. And after talking to him, he'd been looking at digital products online, and he was looking for something like this. But the practice manager the practice owner didn't want to show him the product because it's too expensive. didn't speak to him to find out what he wanted in the first place. And actually, at the end of it, it walked away. Practice made £200, but the patient went out happy. And that was just by kind of finding out exactly what he wanted. And the price was here and there. Could have been a £20 mag, he didn't want it. But the £500 one, because it didn't look like a magnifier, but did what he wanted, worked a treat. Okay, so one of the things I mentioned earlier, when we are looking at the age range now of people that are coming through, is that we're looking at products that are very much task-orientated. And we're also looking at products that aren't necessarily low vision. So like I say, I'm not ruling out low vision. I'm just looking at what we can do on a day-to-day basis more so. And so we have a concept, something called retail magnification, easy vision. It's along the lines, the kit list that's at the back of your booklets has been a combination of the list that you get for your areas, for the LOCs, if they're on different schemes, and a combination of the easy vision concept, okay? Like I say, it's all about having low-powered solutions. So we're looking at a hand magnifier that is versatile enough that you can take to the supermarket and check if it's plum tomatoes or chopped tomatoes you need. Or you can have a look at the dates on the back of packets, or you can look at the size of clothes and things like that. So that is quite versatile. We'll go into some of the products a lot more later. But again, looking at more task-specific magnification. So if you've got somebody of working age who's just struggling working maybe in finance and they've got all the little kind of figures, I know when my KPIs used to come out, I used to have to blow them up and print them out on 3 pages so I could read them. Whereas if I'd have had a magnifier, I could have probably just scanned along the line a lot easier. Probably didn't want to see some of the KPIs, so it wasn't a bad thing. Making it easy channels to sale. So we're not saying it's got to be the OO. It hasn't necessarily got to be the DO. Obviously, we want it to be DOs that lead it, but it also means that depending on the magnification and by empowering everybody in the practice, so your shop floor staff, your admin staff, your reception staff, it means that everybody, if you're not in, if you're busy, somebody's got the confidence to talk about it and to maybe make that sale. If somebody's walking in and they're looking at a Scribblelooks because they want to do a crossword, you've got all the details anyway. You can check, how does that seem? Oh, that's fantastic. Perfect. Let me put that through for you. You might work differently in practice. That's absolutely fine. Like I say, we have the workshop that we deliver so that everybody in practice is empowered. We have the CET events like we're doing this afternoon as well. But you can also not just look at what you have on the shop floor. We can look at images. We can look at, I've just this week actually, to be fair, every email I seem to be, Ian, can you send me an image for this? Or I'm doing an article for the dispensing optician. Can you send me a picture of this? I'm like, absolutely fine. Somebody's redoing their website. Ian, can you send me all your images? Like, you do realise I have 600 products. And I've probably got multiple images. I'm like, I hope you've got a big enough server to take all these in. And then you've got your marketing material so you can stamp up and leave in your libraries and in your different places as well. So like I say, on the products, we'll discuss more later on. But like I say, if you look at how we've positioned it there, the bottom bit is all the bits that people used to get hung up on. Oh, it's got this kind of lens and it's this. It's like, patient aren't bothered to some degree. We need to understand it so that we can justify it when somebody goes, 60 quid? Get this for a tenner from Poundland. Well, that defeats the object, because why are you getting it from Poundland if it's a tenner? And different things. But it kind of, that's more for your benefit. But it's what you can do with it. Like I said, looking for telephone numbers, looking at maps. You've got the hard coating if it does go in your pocket, so you're not scratching it, so it's long lasting. And then we've got the other two, like I say, which we'll have a play with in more detail later on. But make a point of it. Don't hide it away. The amount of times I go into practice and I look for it, I go, I know I've sold it, and I was like, where's that kit gone? You still got the kit? Like, yeah, of course. Whoosh. Oh, great, perfect. So if you're talking about it, fine, I'm not going to knock it. But if you're not talking about it and it's in a drawer, who's going to come and see it? Because some of the products you see later, Mrs. Jones is not going to come and ask for that product because we don't advertise between the breaks in Coronation Street. We're not in the back of the Daily Mail or wherever supplement it is. So it's all about you guys talking about it and delivering it. And if you've got a nice point of sale to go with, then it can make all the difference. So, like I say, success must be driven by you. When we're looking at these magnification, when we're looking at the kit that they've put together, if you use it as a kit and not a concept, it will sit there. Nobody's going to come in. You've got to drive it. You've got to push it. And that's why every member of staff is important, because you'll be able to be busy with a patient. Patient comes up to the front desk, needs to book a new sight test because they're struggling, and they're struggling with their, like I say, they're struggling to do a crossword or write their own Christmas cards this year. It's the shop floor staff that go, oh, do you know what? It was great. Ian came in a few weeks ago. We've got these new, let me show you this. Oh, actually, do you know what? You're a few months early for your sight test. Might have to charge you. But actually, do you know what? I had to take that. That's fine. So that's gone from potentially no change and whatever to £100. Thanks very much. Easy as that. Okay. So as I mentioned, just check on time so that we don't finish too early for you. Oh, not too bad. Not too bad. I know it's nearly lunchtime, so I kind of. So you know what you do. Like I said earlier, we live in this bubble. We kind of think we're doing great. But how do you get it out there to people? How do you tell people about what you do? So who's quite good on the internet? Who would say that they've got a good website? Yeah? I've checked your website this morning. I saw the magnification on there. Opera glasses, binoculars. I like it. But it's got a list. It's got all the different things that you do, all the separate things. And this is the thing. So when we look at, again, we look at some of the patients that we're dealing with. It might not necessarily be them that are the ones searching, but it's going to be for our parents, for our siblings and stuff like that, that we're doing all the legwork for, that we're like, actually, do you know what? Don't go to that practice you've been to. Go to this practice because they've just got this machine, and that's going to find out that we've got a history of glaucoma in the family. They're going to help us, or that's going to help us. So it's what you've got out there. And I think the web is great. It's got its negatives, but it's our window to the world. So it's what are we advertising? So you'll know how much you spend on dressing your window in the practice. And sometimes know how much people have spent on that window at the front. It's ridiculous. It's crazy amounts of money just for a window display. But depending where you are, that window display is not going to get many calls, much kind of footfall going past it. So what other way have you got it? So if you think that the web is your window, what have you got that's saying, stop looking, I can help you? Like, I know practices that do very, very well with magnification, and there's absolutely nothing on their website. And I was like, seriously? Like, if I put into Google, magnification, London, I find one practice comes up. How is that even possible that in the city? Because nobody kind of thinks that it's important. And other different things that you search for, it's just crazy. But it does allow that kind of communication. And I know that there's a lot more interactivity. I know one page I went on recently, a little pop-up came up saying, how can I help you? I'm like, whoa, you must be really quiet if you've got time to respond to me straight away. But no, it just means that you've got that interaction so people can send you messages. Because some people might be sat at home at 10 o'clock at night, and some people can book their appointments now online. They don't need anybody in practice to do it. They can kind of link straight in. So if you've got that kind of comms backwards and forwards, then happy days. So you said about your practice being obviously you're happy with the website and things like that.
Could be better.
Okay. Why?
Well, your products have got a photograph that just says accessories underneath. That's a bit crap.
To be fair, I'm just happy you mention it, to be honest. There's kind of the amount of people that don't mention it.
I think we could do better than that. I think we need some images from.
Yeah, that's fine. We can send images out. Is there any negatives to why you wouldn't want to go on the web, or what would be a holdback for you? Is there kind of a reason why you've not kind of pushed it on? Anything?
The problem is finding somebody who's got the time to sort of
Okay.
put things on.
So kind of,
Keep it up to date.
so kind of time and things like that. Okay. So that's a fair point, to be honest. So some of it is pretty simple. I think sometimes, like, YouTube's great. Like, the amount of stuff that I've learned off of YouTube is fantastic. Stuff that's optical based and stuff that's not optical based. But I was like, I need to learn how to do that. So I built a pizza oven in my back garden that works an absolute treat. And I just Googled that and just YouTubed it all. And no, it's pretty cool. So you can probably find it. So setting up, making a website, first and foremost, is simple. And actually, once it's up and running, there's not much to kind of keep it going, but it's just finding that time to do that. But it's the same way that if it's coming to Halloween, you change the window display. If it's coming to Christmas, you change the window display. It's the same as in a few weeks, I'm assuming that everybody's going to start getting their ski goggles out and putting them all over the windows and things for all the millions of skiers that's in the UK. Or not. Did you know there's only 1 million skiers in the UK, according to the ski club? Now, I'm not knocking skiers because I'm a skier. But did you know there's over 20 million over 50s? So do you put lights in your window, or do you put ski goggles in your window in the autumn? This kind of thing. So, but in the same breath, where would you buy ski goggles from if you didn't get them from the optician? So it's kind of so. Okay, Google. Google's great. I was listening to LBC yesterday, and for my sins, and they were talking about why we test kids like we do now on remembering things. Because actually, do you know what? What's the point? I can just get it out, and within a couple of seconds, I've learned everything I need to learn, and I can go away and do it. But Google for the practice, fantastic. So you've got your website, you're up and running. Tell Google about it. It will automatically find its way higher up the list, but you can actually go to Google, and they'll kind of bump you up the list once you've kind of filled all your bits in. And again, it just makes you, it's just like you standing in a crowd and going, look at me, look at me. It's exactly the same thing. So get stuck in. It doesn't cost anything, to be fair. Facebook. Anybody on Facebook? Optically? I'm not interested personally. So I'm not gonna try and befriend you later. So, yeah, how does Facebook work for you? Good?
A treat, yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Do you find that people message you
Yes. Very much so.
after hours a lot? Yeah. I've got this in my eye. Can you help me? Maybe I can't answer that question. But again, it's that interaction. So as much as it's really important to have that face-to-face with people, you need to kind of engage with them beforehand. And so, yeah, Facebook, be able to build the relationship first and foremost so they can communicate. They can see that you've got this promotion coming up, or you've got this event where you've got these new frames in and different things like that. It helps it get it out there. Yes, you can use Facebook advertising. So you could specifically say, right, in my area, I'm going to concentrate on just this proportion of people that are over 50 or whatever you want to, and you can pay for those ads to do that. But it's not overly expensive, and it gets to the people that you need to be able to get to. So we've got one that uses Facebook. Is that just engagement, or do you do Facebook ads as well?
No, we don't do Facebook ads.
Just engagement kind of thing and communication and things. Anybody else you say got Facebook? And again, is it just engagement and comms?
The adverts more than anything.
Oh, okay.
There was that latest push on driving standards with a little
Perfect.
caption was with the
Well, that's that.
Gate to the left, wasn't it?
Got you. So,
Can you see? And we did like a push.
okay.
DVLA standards push, and we found literally the first month we had a great turnaround in more inquiries, people just worrying about their driving standards and an increase in site test bookings.
And that's the thing. You haven't got to create your own content at times. You can pull off information from other people. Like if I look at what we do on Facebook, and it's more stats and reports that have come out. So obviously the more recent one was about Michael Owen's son with Stargarts, putting that out into the kind of forum for the people that have got Stargarts. On a personal level, I'm a member of a Stargarts forum. And the amount of communications that I see on there from people interacting with each other who's got Stargarts about information that they haven't got. So it might be that you drop onto a forum and say, I'm a dispensing optician, I'm an optometrist. If you've got any queries or questions, pitch them and I'll answer them. The amount of times I'll see on there, it's like, oh, obviously we've got Stargards, I'm struggling to do this. I've been recommended yellow for the sunlight. What? Do you know what colour yellow is? You go outside, it'll make everything 10 times worse. So it's kind of advising people, and you can kind of get that kind of professionalism kind of coming through and that advice. But if there is stats and, like I say, videos and reports that other people have done, like the RAC is a big one. They brought a report out in June. 14th of June it came out, and it says that 54% of all drivers are now suffering with the new oncoming headlights. So they worked out there was 16 million drivers in the UK. And so, 8 million drivers in the UK, which I thought was quite low, in all fairness. But 8 million drivers. 25% of those drivers are spec wearers. So there's 2 million people in the UK struggling with the oncoming headlights. For me, I'd be like, what about the other 6 million people? What are they wearing? What can we do to help those as well? So, but using those just gets people going, actually, yeah, I do struggle with that. Where can I go and get? Actually, they're advertised on this page. I'll go to them. Thank you very much. Twitter. So, got your Facebook? You got a Twitter account? No Twitter account? Okay. Twitter? Anybody else got a Twitter account? No? Okay. So, quite a few users, obviously. 326 million. Yeah, not too bad. So, maybe some not in your area. I get that. I appreciate that. But again, it's linking in whatever platform. So, you mentioned earlier you're on Facebook, but you're not on Twitter. But it could be that I go outside and speak to another 20 odd people. They're all on Twitter and not on Facebook. Because there is more reporting that a lot of the kind of millennials coming through are dropping off of Facebook and using more of Instagram and Twitter and things like that. So getting your Twitter out, you can get little punchy messages out there. Because I use this more for stats or for kind of things where I am, that kind of stuff. But again, the best thing about Twitter, it's free. It doesn't cost you a penny. It's just time. That's the only thing. But we can't be naive enough to think that, do you know what? We don't have a spare 20 minutes sometimes in the day where it's like, oh, there's nobody here now. I've done all the NHS forms. And especially when we go to the EGOS, then we don't have to kind of do a lot of that. So that'd be even better. That you'll have time to kind of do a quick 20-minute tweet. Oh, do you know what? I've just had the rep from Hoyer come in or wherever, and they've shown me some new lenses, and just put it out there. Communicate. Instagram. I love Instagram. Not as much as my partner, but I love Instagram. It's good. Because, again, it's that visual thing. No, you're on Instagram. No. I've definitely seen your practice on Instagram earlier. I just followed it. Oh, okay, that's why. So, yeah, you've got, again, that visual, so you can put your images on. The amount of times that I know what practices have got new frames in, just because I'm looking through and like, oh, they've got this new range in by or whatever. And so actually, when I nip in there, I'm going to see them and see what they're like. And that's for me that's in the industry. So again, everybody takes visual images so much more than just a written. So again, it doesn't cost you anything. Get involved. The other one that I use a lot is LinkedIn. So I use LinkedIn to communicate when I've got training courses. It's good for, again, communication. So not as much with the end user, but more interaction for you guys. So it might be that you do a particular thing in your area that somebody else doesn't, and they don't want to do. So you can kind of bounce customers to each other and kind of interconnect and kind of know what each other does. Or use it for stalking your competition. Find out what they're doing. And then, like I say, use it and manipulate it to whatever you need to do. So who's going to go back and look at implementing some new digital marketing, do you think? Yeah? Yeah. Thing is, you might have family members, you might have children that are savvy and go, do you know what? You can only keep. You're going to set me this up. This is what you're doing. Start this out. I've got a lady, bless her, she emailed me, Ian, I need these images. I need some more images. My daughter's going back to university and she's setting this up before she goes back. So I'm like, fine. You know what I mean? Tap them up. That's what they're there for. If you can get some unpaid work, happy days. It's great. Okay, so as we wrap up, because I believe we are nearly at, is it 12:15?
Yeah.
Winner, it's not too bad. Do you have any questions, any queries, any positives, any negatives that you kind of want to discuss, you want to shout out there, or something that worked for your practice that you want to share with people, or maybe not? You don't have to. Anything? You're a very quiet group.
I just interjected and said that your standard clear set of magnifiers, that set that you do,
Yes.
has been a staple diet for us across 3 shops
Okay.
for the best part of 15 years. And is it positioned in reception? Reception staff can use it really easily. You've got a range of prices in there. And we've actually just seen our accessory sales in that respect generally increase. And we're not really doing anything about it. People come in, they see them there. Oh, I notice you sell magnifiers. How much is that one? You know, whether it's a £15, £17 one, or whether it's a £4.95 one. They sell really easily.
And it's a great point. So the kit in question, what we're looking at is it's a display of non-illuminated magnifiers, and there are 12 in the set. Only range from 2 times to 3.25. A large rectangle, a large, a medium, and a small. And it comes in a nice, almost circular display. And very much as described, it's there to be on the reception desk or in a dispensing area, so people can go, oh, actually, do you know what? And it's very much a kind of buy it off the shelf kind of dispense, or just purchase. So there's no dispense necessarily needed. But then it opens the door for other things. Or if somebody goes, this is not quite working. Actually, do you know what? Let me take you over to the illuminated. So it's almost kind of, you've got that as your starting point. And then you're going, let's have a look at things like the easier vision. And then what we usually find is that people then could drop into the digital magnification that we'll play with later. And then, once you've got that, if you want to specialise, we've got more other options as well. But that is a kind of nice comprehensive way of kind of separating it into different areas. But it gets people's attention and goes, actually, didn't think about that. So, yeah, perfect, thank you. Any others? You still want your lunch, don't you? Perfect. Excellent. So, nothing else? No? Going once? Going twice? Excellent. Well, I look forward to all of you talking later when we do the workshop. And it will be a lot more hands-on, so you don't have to listen to me as much. But if you do have any questions, come over to the stand. I know it's lunchtime, so I kind of don't want to hold you back much more. So, perfect. Thank you very much.